Well, those are the foes. Let's go to today's friend. It's going to be Bill Goldberg.
Yes.
Who still has
I was talking to him all weekend. He wouldn't leave me alone. He was in Miami when I was there.
Well, he still has one more match left in WWE at 55, so you got to give the guy credit. He's had
Hell
staying
yes.
power, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah. And he represented the business so well on what's my favorite show on Saturday morning? The football with Herb Street and those guys.
Oh, Game Day.
Game Day. He represented the company. He had the belt, 3-piece suit on. I texted him. He looked like a million man. And then he was down there. He didn't know I was in Miami at the Hard Rock. So he was texting me back and forth. And of course, he knew that I went over to see Harbaugh, so he wouldn't let me live that down.
Well, not now, he won't.
Yeah, no, God. Well, he didn't let me live it down that night. He sent me a picture. When it was 14-0, he sent me a picture of the scoreboard.
Well, and it didn't get no better. But
No.
But Bill was a real phenomenon, and maybe by accident, Nate. I'm not sure WCW knew what they had with Bill initially.
No, I don't think they did either. But thank God they were smart enough to run with it as long as they did. They could have gone with Bill forever. You know, Bill's another guy that thrown into the fire without time to really develop his skills. But I will say this about Bill: as stiff as the son of a bitch is, as many times as he kicked my head off or drilled me, he's one of the nicest guys in the business and has remained nice. And, you know, he's humble, he's respectful. And, you know, I just tell him when I see him, I go, look it, man, just take care of yourself and your family, because you can't take these 30 and 60 days extended breaks and keep coming back and wrestling at a high level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but his matches usually shortened to the point, and that's what got him over in the first place, Nate.
No, I know, but I meant when I said my advice to him was, as long as you're under contract, be prepared for him to call you, which they have. You know, I won't give you an example, but Vince called him a week before he wanted to wrestle. He hadn't trained to wrestle. He's always working out, but the difference cardio-wise,
Yep.
does that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit. You've got to get that cardio in, because, man, in the ring, the cardio is everything. I've seen it break guys, including myself. When I ran out of gas, when I got older, and I'd have a harder time getting my heart rate up. And I could do 300 squats, my heart rate would only go up to, like, let's say 80, as opposed to 150. So it was hard getting your second wind sometimes. And man, I would blow up terrible. When I was younger, it was a non-issue. But once you start doing it in a more sporadic period of time, then it gets the best of you here, and you think to yourself, man, you know, I mean, you spend more time thinking about, are you going to be able to make it through it, like I did with Shawn at WrestleMania 24, when I know I'm in the best shape I could possibly be in at 59, which I was in great shape. I did shit that people will never be able to do it when they're 59, in preparation for it, cardio-wise. Yeah, I was a cosmetic nightmare, but my cardio was doing some ridiculous stuff that people that know me and have trained with me have seen me do. But when you second guess yourself on just being able to catch your breath, you forget about the content of the match. It's a terrible loss of, God, what's the word? When you lose your confidence and you get sidetracked thinking about other things, you're never going to be the performer you were. And one of being, if you're worried about getting hurt, which I never worried about that, but not worrying about blowing up and not being who I was 20 years before, which was a lot of pressure to put on myself. When you lose that little bit of confidence, it can change your whole mindset and your whole game plan around. And unless you've been a wrestler, you shouldn't even be able to comment on it. So anybody that listens out here that's got a podcast, and hasn't been in the ring and hasn't bounced around or wrestled an hour or done anything, they shouldn't be able to even comment on what it's like to be in that position, because it's horrifying. It's like, I'll give it something you'll relate to. Chris Simon jumped on Bob Probert at the end of a shift. It made Chris Simon famous, right?
Oh, it did, but like you said, Proby was at the end of a shift.
End of a shift. Well, but a regular hockey fan doesn't know what that means. That means they've been out there for 2 minutes was completely blown up. And Chris Simon jumped on Proby, right? So
he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but you and I as hockey fans know it. The regular fan watching goes, "Oh, Chris Simon beat the shit out of Bob Probert." Well, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
So
no,
so when I see a guy in the ring, you never whether he's struggling with worried about getting hurt, whether he's struggling with trying to keep up, whether he's blowed up. Unless you've been in that, it's really hard to understand and make people understand what it's like. Or a guy, can you imagine these receivers running these 80-yard routes and coming back to the huddle and running out 80 yards again? I mean, conditioning's a big deal in sports.
Well, getting back to Bill, one thing I loved about Bill's run in WCW was it showed how simple wrestling could be.
Yeah.
He had the look, he had short matches, he had the winning streak. End of story. It wasn't much more complicated than that, was it?
No, exactly. And I think I was about, in that 160, I was probably 9 of them.
Who was the first one? Who was the first guy he beat?
I can't remember.
Bill DeMott, Hugh Morris.
Oh, that's right. How do you know that?
I saw it online somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because that was one of Terry Taylor's terrible punny names. Like, he wanted us to pronounce it humorous.
Yeah.
Because he was the laughing man. I go, no, his name's Hugh Morris.
Yeah. The last thing I saw online last week was 6 reasons why Ric Flair is not the GOAT and why Chris Jericho is. Jeez.
Well, I don't think that's accurate to you.
Absolutely
Jericho's good,
not.
though. Jericho's good. You got to give him credit.
I didn't say it wasn't good. I didn't say it wasn't good. I'm saying at 72, people are still writing articles about me. When they're writing articles about Chris Jericho when he's 72, show me one.
Now,
I must have impressed somebody.
well, you impressed me. God knows. Look, here we are. Now, one thing about Bill that was great, and I know you appreciate this, when I was an announcer, I liked calling Bill's matches.
Yes.
Because you could call them like a shoot. He was so real. There was nothing silly about him.
Mark, it was real with him.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, no. Bill didn't, he only knew one thing. Boom, power jam, hammer. I used to go, he and Lesnar both, I'm like, please be careful.
Well, was Bill safe? Because, Bill is known for giving Bret Hart that kick in the head, which, contributed to Bret not wrestling anymore. How safe was Bill to work with?
Well, to me, he was very safe. I've been kicked in the head by him too. I don't know whether, everybody's going to get kicked or hit in the head. So what may have affected Bret, unfortunately, did not affect me. But we all get kicked in the head. Are you kidding, Mark? We get kicked in the head. We get our ribs. We get, we cracked vertebrae, cracked ribs. Wrestling's a very physical, tough sport. And that, when the people that don't understand that, it's ridiculous because no matter whether it's choreographed or not, these kids put their bodies on the line every day. And when you do it 6 to 7 days a week sometimes, now for these guys, 4 days a week at least, you're putting your body out there. It's hard. And you've got to keep up with it,
Now, two things another thing that was great about Bill was his entrance and his music. I thought that was perfectly produced. How much does that mean to a performer, and how much did it mean to Bill?
Well, I just thought, number one, Bill's look was so awesome. Just at the right time. He came out, he was different than everybody. But his music, his entrance, and then, they were conditioned, I call it conditioned, the fans were conditioned to know they were going to see something that was action-packed with Bill, whether it was 10 seconds or 10 minutes. Something big was going to happen.
Now, I think they made 2 mistakes with Goldberg. Let me run them both by you. I think when he beat Hogan for the title on Nitro, I think you got to have that match on pay-per-view. I just don't think you give away what you could sell and really pop a pretty high dollar figure.
Yeah, I don't know. At that time, you got to remember they were fighting the ratings with WWE, and they knew the pay-per-views. I don't know how they were drawing. I wouldn't have access to that, but They were so conscious of that Monday Night War thing. I'm sure that was the reason it was on TV.
Well, I'm sure it was too, but I don't know if you give away money for that, which is what they did.
Well, that's one of the reasons the company's not here. They gave away money.
And I also think
they gave it to employees as well. Everyone except me.
Yeah, they were thrifty with you, right?
Thrifty, yeah.
And the other mistake I think they made was I thought they beat Bill Goldberg too soon with that cattle prod finish. I mean, like you said earlier, that winning streak could still be going. I mean, you could have kept that going indefinitely. He was that kind of performer and had that kind of belief from the fans.
Absolutely. But then again, Mark, I was so far removed from that decision-making process, and I was so, we were just, Arn and I were just downtrodden. We were trying to figure out how to survive. So I don't know what input or, what made that go. And to be honest with you, I don't think I paid that much attention to it.
Well, there's always the story that Kevin Nash booked himself to beat Goldberg, but as Kevin's pointed out recently, he wasn't the booker. He did not make that decision. Again, that's, no knock on anybody. Kevin was obviously a great performer and a credible world champ when he had the belt, but I just would not have beat Bill.
I don't remember. I didn't know Kevin beat Bill. I thought he beat Hogan, but it doesn't matter.
No, Kevin beat Bill with the cattle prod thing, and then Hogan beat Kevin with that finger poke.
Oh, the cat with the interference from Scott.
Scott Hall.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I remember.
So now, were you surprised Bill went to WWE, and how do you rate his tenure there?
Well, I was kind of involved in that because Vince asked me if I thought Bill could succeed up there, and I said most definitely. I don't think his first run was as good as this last run. You took time off, and when he came the last time, Sean, Hunter, myself, Dave ran the first time, right? They had a ton of guys to feed Bill. And that's basically what I would do. I probably wrestled Bill more times in WWE when I was in my 50s than I did, back in the 90s at WCW. As did Hunter, and we all just fed Bill. But it was a pleasure to do it. Bill was a good guy, and I think he left on not real good terms the first time, but he came back this time, and it's kind of like I say, the guys that made a name for themselves that mean something 10 years after they've been removed and can come back and mean something, those are the guys that are special, and the fans should recognize that. Whether they like their work, whether they're critical of it or not, they deserve it, and Bill has made himself worth this every time he's come back.
Now, one thing I never realized till researching for this show, Bill wasn't the first guy to use the spear, but he might have been the guy to first really popularize it. When he used that spear, I don't know what it felt like, but it looked like a ton of bricks.
Oh no, really? Really? Yeah. He weighs 280 pounds. What do you think it felt like?
Well, the point is, it got over. I mean, it just looked devastating, and I guess it was.
It was. It wasn't like Edge. Edge's spear. Which way do you want me to lean, Adam? Bill, he could hear nothing. Spear, jackhammer. Okay.
Now, Bill didn't work 5-star matches like we talked about earlier, and it's good to remember that because it goes to show you don't have to work 5-star matches to get over. I mean, people like to watch him. I know I do.
He drew money.
I don't think it's integral.
No, he drew money. 5-star matches mean nothing if you're not drawing money.
I wish more people would know that today.
Well, I mean, we've seen a lot of 5-star matches that don't draw money. A 5-star according to who again? I mean, everything is like, who said that? And I hate the word they. Who's they?
Well, we know who, Meltzer.
Well, what we're also, believe it, I think there's a lot more people that have a voice in wrestling that don't deserve to have one than Dave. Like I say, Dave, like you, has legitimately followed it. You're not some guy coming in out of nowhere that's starting to catch up on the history of wrestling by watching YouTube. The guys that have followed it and pay attention to it closely, as you and I talk about with hockey, if you look at 30 years of it and we love it, we talk about it, and we can talk about it forever. It's these people that come in and then try to catch up on the history of wrestling through YouTube or through Vince's library that really should never have a word to say about it.
Now,
You can't catch up on it if you didn't watch it and didn't live it.
who would you compare Bill to from back in the day? Was anybody reminiscent of Bill back near the start of your career?
Um, wow.
Because this really kind of
Yeah, no,
reminds me of the phenomenon he was.
I think Bill was pretty unique, you know. When I started my career, who was like that? I can't think of anyone that had that style.
I'm not sure anybody that big was that athletic back then.
Yeah, exactly.
And had that real. I mean, Bill was a Georgia Bulldog. He was an NFL player. Sorry,
two-time All SEC, not just a Bulldog.
Yeah, right. So he had that legitimacy.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't think of guys when I started were like that were certainly as tough as Bill. Maybe even a lot. Guys like Wahoo McDaniels and that but those guys in those days they wouldn't have let Bill do that. So Bill wouldn't have been spearing Blackjack Mulligan or Harley Race. So Harley would have said, "Come up with something that works for both of us." I mean, I don't think anybody would be spearing Jack Briscoe. When I started in the business, the guys were a little different, and you certainly weren't going to beat Harley Race in 10 minutes.